And give proper time to the public hearing. I'd like for the members to introduce themselves, starting right over here.
I'm sorry.
Introduce yourselves.
Bill Lamb, Tuscaloosa, House District 62.
Hey, Matt Butler, Etowah County.
Ben Robbins, Talladega County.
Margie Wilcox, Mobile County, House District 104. It's our clerk, Mary Ruth.
Kelvin Lawrence, House District 69.
Gary Underwood, House District 3 in the northwest corner of the state.
Donna Gibbons, House District 64, Baldwin County.
Marilyn Lands, Alabama House 10, Madison County.
Okay, please turn off your cell phones or put into the silent mode. And Representative Butler, would you mind leading us in an opening prayer?
Absolutely. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for giving us this day. We pray for your hand to be upon us. We pray that you help us be good stewards of all your trust. In us in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, do we have any pages present to be introduced? All right, we have our intern, Katie, who helps us and is interning. Katie, just in the interest of time, I'm not going to do any long introductions. Calling the meeting to order. Mary Ruth, please call roll.
Representative Wilcox?
Here.
Representative Robbins?
Here.
Representative Bracy? Representative Hurst? Representative Butler?
Here.
Representative Lawrence?
Here.
Representative Moore? Representative Gibbons?
Here.
Representative Lamb?
Here.
Representative Underwood?
I'm here.
Representative Lands?
Here.
You have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'd like to call up the first bill, HB 471. Representative Brown, Chairman Brown, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chip Brown, House District 105, South Mobile County. I have House Bill 471, and what this does currently, in Alabama law, if you're an elected official, whether at the local, county, or state level, you're not supposed to be serving on water boards, sewer boards, and fire protection authorities under section 11-88-6. And what this does, we have problems filling those seats, and this will allow those local, county, and state officials to serve on those boards.
Any questions by the members?
I have one question. Was it originally because people were afraid of some sort of self-dealing if you were elected and being on board?
Yeah, that's my thought of where it came out of originally.
So really the whole issue is we just can't find people willing to be on water boards?
Particularly it's like on fire authorities, it's a big problem with fire authorities. I mean, in my county we have fire districts, and we have some that have 4 people, let's say, on it. There's plenty of people that love to serve on those boards that are elected officials, particularly at the local and county level, but they're not. And I know of at least one that was serving and then was told you can't do that by an attorney, and then so they went and are doing it, but they're not receiving any travel compensation or anything like that, just because they love the community and they know that space will go on field.
I'll move for a favorable report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, your bill's given a favorable report. Thank you.
Madam Chairman. Thank you, members. Thanks, sir.
Okay, now we're going to start the public hearing for HB 473, Representative Stringer. I do have the sign-up sheet. Does anybody want a last-minute sign-up? Otherwise, we're going to go with this one. And because there has been some stuff in the media and there's some applicable law to this, may I have Charlana Skaggs? First of all, Representative Stringer, come introduce your bill, and then our first speaker will be Mrs. Skaggs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill is going to address public boards, water boards, from restricting public's access of the water bodies that they either control or own. It's just dealing with Big Creek Lake, where we've had a closure in the public waterways in Mobile County.
Okay, you want us to start the hearing and
Yes.
get the information flowing. We will not be voting this week. This is the time for us to get the input from the public. This is a public hearing that should have taken place in Mobile County, in my opinion, but this is the people's house, and we're most happy to oblige y'all and giving y'all a place to speak your mind. So, yeah, it's our job and it's our pleasure to serve you. And so thank you for Representative Stringer for bringing this to our attention so that y'all could have a moment. Ms. Skaggs, would you introduce yourself and who you serve besides the state of Alabama and the people?
Thank you. I appreciate y'all having me. My name is Charlana Skaggs. I'm the General Counsel for the Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. We were asked by several public officials to look at the issue of whether or not Big Creek Lake is a public waterway. And so in order to determine that, we go back and look and see if Big Creek is navigable, because the law is if you dam a navigable waterway, it becomes a public water, the reservoir becomes a public water. And so we took a look at several things. I'm happy to go through all of those with you. I don't think you want me to start talking like a lawyer and bore everybody in the room, but there is an Act of Alabama, 1858-339, which declared Big Creek to be a navigable stream and a public highway from Moffitt's Road to the Mississippi line. And so once that was declared a public highway and a dam was placed across it, the reservoir becomes public. We do not, however, have jurisdiction to say that the lands that are privately owned around it can be trespassed. But we did find in our legal opinion that Big Creek Lake is a public waterway.
Now, members, this is the time for you to utilize her expertise. I did ask them to be here. They're very neutral. They're just here to provide guidance to the committee. Underwood, you're recognized.
So, I guess the crux of it comes down to authority, right? I understand protecting the water supply, but the authority to close a public water space is where my concerning question is. And your opinion is?
Well, I think that's really a question left to someone besides us. What we would say, the Department of Conservation would say, is that it is a public waterway, and because it is a public waterway, the public has a right to fish and recreate in it.
Well, I think that's kind of what I was asking anyway, but okay. But there could and should be a process, should there be some protective issues with water supply, and I understand that, but I'm not sure there was a process here at all. I guess that's what my question comes down to.
And again, I think that's maybe a question for the folks with malls and that entity. We, as a DCNR, do recognize that there are some critical infrastructure issues that need to be protected: the dams, the spillway, the booms, those kinds of things. We do believe that that malls would have a right to protect those from damage or intrusion.
Okay, that helps me a lot. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions? You're recognized?
Yeah, I'll ask a question. So, how familiar are you with, is it Big Creek Waterway?
Yes.
So, if it's navigable, could you put a boat in upstream? So you could put a boat in upstream and then still make it to Big Creek Lake and fish, correct?
Wherever you as an individual have the right to access the waterway, you could. So let's say that I owned property on one side of the headwaters of Big Creek. Then I could give you permission to get in a kayak or get in a canoe and float it all the way to Big Creek Lake.
Okay, that was my question. So if you have a boat launch somewhere else, you could still launch your boat or kayak, whatever that might be, and you can still make your way into this public lake and fish, swim, whatever you want to do, correct?
That's our legal position once it's declared navigable.
Well, so you're saying it was, quote, it was declared navigable by statute?
Yes, and also by the analysis that DCNR goes through. So we look at whether or not a waterway is navigable at the time the state became a member of the union. So we go back and look at historical survey maps from the 1800s, and we found Big Creek had been meandering in the 1830s. We then look at whether or not it was used in commerce before then. There's a number of factors that we look at to determine whether it's navigable and whether or not it's a public waterway. But one of the most decisive for us is if the legislature has passed an act declaring it to be a public waterway.
Right, and so we have at some point, you said passed an act.
1858.
1858. So if it's a navigable waterway, and it was navigable when we, as Alabama, became a member of the Union, what rights does the federal government have, or are there any riparian rights the state itself or the federal government has to the land under the water?
So the federal government would not have any riparian rights. The state of Alabama owns, assuming that the waterway is navigable, which we take a legal position it is, then the state of Alabama owns the original channel of Big Creek through Big Creek Lake. Whoever owns the riparian land, the land that was flooded, they would have the rights to all of that submerged land other than the original channel, which the state would claim ownership to.
Right, so we as the state claim ownership of the land under which the original flow of Big Creek is, and where it is now too, correct? So, this is something I've always struggled with, and I want you to answer this too for you. So, if we own, can you deny access to public lands? So, if it's a public water, public land, can you deny someone access to that? If there is no boat launch or access point to a navigable waterway, isn't it that you have to allow someone access to that?
That's a legal question that would get into things like prescriptive easements and those sorts of things. And so I couldn't necessarily tell someone where they have to grant access, just that the public has the right to access.
Because I'm trying to remember, and I think there is like a common law case on, I can't remember what city it was, maybe it was a place in California, they couldn't access the beach, and it was decided that you have to allow some form of an easement or access to a public beach, to the beach, because the government owns the right here, the rights in which the water would flow up, so the government owns it, it's all very vague to me. So I was kind of curious, can you do that with a river? Can you say, we will not allow you any access onto a navigable waterway, which is a publicly owned water,
And that's a legal question that we have not been asked to look at, whether or not there would be some sort of prescriptive easement that would be required for the public. We haven't looked at that. The question we were asked is it a public water, and why do you say it is a public water? What's your legal reasoning for that?
Okay. Has anyone ever challenged conservation on, has there ever been a federal court case and we do not believe this to be a navigable water, or we do
Not a
in your
federal court
analysis,
case.
or a state court case even?
There has been a state court case before.
Has it ever overturned a statute and said you were incorrect, legislature or conservation, in your determination?
Not that I'm aware of, when there has been an act of Alabama, a statute that established it as a public waterway.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And one last question. Are there any other dams or reservoirs on Big Creek, or is this the sole reservoir?
This is the sole reservoir that I'm aware of. I'm sorry, this is the sole dam that I'm aware of. It is a reservoir.
Okay, so this is the sole reservoir on that body of water, as far as you're aware of?
As far as I'm aware of, it is.
Okay, but this bill would cover every reservoir across the entire state. Correct.
It would apply to those public corporations that are organized.
Right, yeah, every right, that is owned by them. And so, if the state owns the land underneath where the water flows, right? So
a portion of it, the original channel.
The original channel, the state owns that land, then how does laws own the water itself?
They own the submerged property beneath the water.
Right, well then who owns the water itself?
So DCNR would argue that, or would say that the public has the right to access and fish and recreate in the surface waters. Beyond that, I'm really not willing to hypothesize.
I understand. Okay. What if there is no boat launch or access at any point on Big Creek, and it's navigable public water, but there is no boat launch anywhere? How would someone even? So technically, they would have no access to waters in which they own, have the right to.
We haven't encountered that before, and so I don't have an answer.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I can't thank you enough for coming. I know that we don't want y'all to wade into things that you don't want to get into, but it's an important question that we want to take our time and have all the information. So thank you for being here as well.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, wait a minute. Do you know of there's no other situation that's popped up like this around the state in recent since you've been there?
So there are a number of private lakes and private waters like that, where you have someone who it's not a navigable stream, and one individual owns all the property around it. So that is entirely possible. I think Tuscaloosa is an example of that. I think Lake Tuscaloosa is entirely owned and is not fed by a navigable stream. Lake Purdy may be another example of that. It's a purely private lake.
So it was never declared a navigable waterway in the history of Alabama, so it's not apples and apples.
Right.
Okay, any other questions by the committee? And I'm going to, offer you as a resource in the next week as we continue. I'm sure you might get some private phone calls when people are just asking questions further. So thank you so much for your help and your expertise.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
We do have enough time that we can do 2.5 minutes per person. I'm going to call, and what I ask is I'm going to call the names in order. When I say you're up, you're on deck, and you're in the hole, that means I want you standing probably somewhere close by where you can feed up, and we can't waste a lot of time waiting on everybody to get here. Please don't repeat the person before you. I know that a lot of you have family history of fishing on the water. You can say that, but this hearing is about making sure we investigate all of your ideas. So if we have new ideas on each speaker, then we can get all the information in a limited amount of time. I'm going to start with Heath Hutchison, you're up. Matthew Frazier, you're on deck. Charles Miller, you're in the hole. All right, 2.5 minutes. You have the floor, Mr. Hutchinson.
Hey, my name is Heath Hutchinson. I live in Wilmer, Alabama. Big Creek Lake is my home lake. I'm a third generation of 4 in my family to fish that lake. Mobile's water utility recently decided they had authority to close our Cherish Lake. Other public entities in our state use reservoirs like Big Creek Lake for their water supply and still manage to keep them open for recreational fishing. Examples are Inland Lake, Thurlow Reservoir, Clayburg Reservoir, and Bear Creek Reservoir. We believe upper management has outstepped their boundaries by not allowing access to our public waters that are navigable and should be open for public use. We are here today to support House Bill 473. We believe that if this abrupt and unconstitutional closure of our lake is allowed to stand, that it will give precedent for other public utility entity companies to do the same thing to their communities across our state. Please support House Bill 473 and help secure our constitutional rights to our lake, rivers, and reservoirs. Our community was devastated by the closing of Big Creek Lake. So many memories, traditions are made on this lake like other lakes in our great state. If this bill doesn't pass, it could put more communities and their abilities to create memories in jeopardy. This bill needs support from House representatives all over the state, plus support from our state senators at the next level of voting. It's imperative to the future right of outdoorsmen like the ones here with me today that this bill put up by Mr. Stringer passes committee and is pushed and passed through to the next level. Our communities, your constituents, are depending on you to make the right decision and support House Bill 473. We are diligently fighting this locally, but our reach only goes so far. It's up to y'all to take the fight to the state level and solidify our rights in the time when so many are in question. Now, I will say that there is a boat launch on Big Creek Lake. It was shut down by the utility company. The road leading to the lake was vacated by our county commissioners. We know there is a easement by prescription in Alabama. We know there's a law for it. It says if the property has been used for 20 years or longer, with or without the knowledge of the person who owns the property, that is prescription of easement. So we know there is a possibility for easement for Big Creek Lake, and there's already an established boat launch where it wouldn't cost anybody a whole lot of money. We are willing to still use a boat washing station that was put there. If y'all allow us, to take our road back to get to the boat wash, we would still use the boat washing station because we want a clean lake just like they want clean water. So thank you for your time.
What city and state are you from?
I live in Wilmer, Alabama.
Wilmer, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Matthew Frazier, you're up. Charles Miller, you're on deck. Alvin Hutchinson, you're in the hole. You got the floor. Mr. Frazier, name, announce your city and state, please.
Matthew Frazier, Mobile, Alabama. I want to thank God for letting me be here today to explain why I believe that HB 473 should be passed. Our water utility shut down our reservoir permanently as of February 5th, 2025. This is an absolute disregard for the Constitution rights of public waterways. I'm here today representing over 3,000 people on our petition to speak and stand our ground for those who can't. The decision on the behalf of the members of Moss has changed the course of the future generations to come. It was absolutely an overreach of power on the decision makers' part. To take a recreational resource of this size from any community is inconceivable. What they have taken is outdoor time from families, whether it be family fun time, fishing, boating, swimming, or just getting out in the sun for mental and physical health. It really doesn't matter which one they've taken them on. Gave the people who trusted them no clear explanation of why the decision was made. Anyone that announced the permanent closure of a public recreational resource are not qualified to find solutions for problems that may arise. There are no permanent problems. There is no permanent problems. Mobile, Alabama has no pro sports teams, no amusement parks. What we do have is hunting and fishing. And now we have a 3,600 acre lake list. Big Creek Lake is the largest recreational public resource in our county. We've used it over 65 years behind, and for Moss to close it down from what they say is the threat of zebra mussels. If we were to close public waters permanently for threats, all public waters would be closed. There are countless threats to all waters all the time. Every car, bike, pedestrian, bird that passes over the reservoir is a threat. And we're here to stand up for what's right and stop what they've done to our water. Our water municipality is brought to the table. The water board has stated they will be the model utility. We don't need to make a model out of them that has taken our rights. The threat, our high school fishing team, MGM, is now today fishing on Lake Tuscaloosa, which it is a public water reservoir. They use the public water, for fishing, recreation. They manage the lake correctly.
Very thoughtful comments. Thank you so much. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Charles Miller, you're up. Alvin Hutchinson, you're on deck. Joshua Lacoste, you're in the hole.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. My name is Charles Miller. I'm the Policy Director of the Alabama Rivers Alliance. We're a statewide organization with more than 2,000 individual members and over 100 organizational members. And unfortunately, as this bill is written currently, we would have to oppose it. I think I've already heard several members, including Representative Underwood, kind of allude to some of the issues that we think could be improved with this bill. Really, it seems as though it's too broad in scope, both in terms of its statewide nature and in terms of how absolute its prohibitions are on drinking water utilities. So, as it's written, this would actually remove some protections that are in place for places. I'm from Birmingham.
I was going to ask you for your place of residence.
That provide drinking water to myself and hundreds of thousands of folks in Jefferson and Shelby County. So Inland Lake, for example, has some maintenance requirements for boats. In other words, you can't take it out there if you got a misfiring spark plug or a leaky gas tank or things that might contaminate the water. If this bill passes on a statewide basis with the language that it currently has, it would eliminate Birmingham Water Works Board's ability to impose those kinds of protections. So, as I mentioned, I think it sounds like the committee's kind of thinking, this is a issue that needs to be maybe looked at a little more specific level. I think local legislation might be a good idea here, and I certainly think from our position, we support recreation. We love folks getting out on the water, and we just want to make sure that when we do it, there's an ability for utilities to strike that balance to allow recreation in a way that's not going to impact water quality. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Alvin Hutchison, you're up. Joshua Lacoste, you're on deck. Bud McCrory, you're in the hole.
I love the baseball analogy.
Thank you. What city and town are you from?
My name's Alvin Hutchinson. I'm from Wilmer, Alabama. Thank you for letting us speak here today. We realize the decisions y'all make in these halls make you either a hero or a zero with your constituents. We understand that. Yet y'all choose to come make them anyway. And for that, we do thank you. We need people like y'all. Rest, we need your help with House Bill 473. Growing up, my family traveled frequently with my dad's job. While other boys attended baseball games and all with their dad, my dad took me fishing. I fished in 14 different states. I fished in Canada. I fished in Mexico. But my best memories are fishing Big Creek Lake with my dad coming up. First ever boat excursion I was ever on was a rented boat from Walter Fox's fish camp right there on Highway 98. My dad sculling the boat and me dragging a Rapala behind the boat. I was 5 or 6 years old. Dad sculled the boat because we didn't have trolling motors back in 1960 and 61. Well, not in West Mobile County anyway. Sadly, my dad's great-grandchildren, my son Heath's youngest, are not going to get to experience the heritage we did on this lake if we don't get some help from y'all. To be honest with you, the powers that be have decided to close Big Creek Lake to fishing, or at least public fishing. The same entity that bidded out the fishing concession on that same lake for over 60 years, they bidded that concession out. I mentioned Mr. Walter Fox. He had 3 fishing camps on that lake. Okay. Claiming now that boats and trailers are bringing in invasive grass and all. I'm not a biologist by any stretch of imagination. I'm a retired truck driver. But I do know there are other ways that seeds and eggs are transferred from one body of water to another. Migratory birds such as herons, ducks, geese, egrets, cranes, etc. cover many miles in their migrations daily, traveling from one body of water to another. Locally, deer, beavers, alligators, otters, turtles, and other mammals and reptiles freely traverse farm ponds and creeks and streams in our rural areas, even in town, regularly. They brought 2 different species of lily pads into my own farm pond. I've been fighting those myself. There are many water suppliers.
Sorry, sir, your time is
already.
Up. Yes,
Thank
sir.
y'all.
Yes, thank you so much for your thoughtful comments. Bud McCrory, you're up. Joshua Lacoste, you're on deck. Larry Godford, you're in the hole.
That's all right. You can go ahead.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I got it all. Go ahead, and I'll put you up next, Mr. Lacoste. Sorry.
Hey, good morning. Thank y'all for allowing us to come here today. A lot of y'all have fact sheets that, well, first of all, let me tell you, I'm Bud McCrory. I'm the director for Mulberry Water and Sewer.
Where do you reside? What city?
Probably enemy number 1 in this room today, just standing for you. But I'm here to represent one thing, and that's quality of water. It's a pit of, I guess, them versus us and all this, and that's not why I stand here today. I stand here today just representing the ability to provide 350,000 individuals, multiple hospitals, dialysis centers, industries with quality water. That's why I stand here today. I mean, it's not about us and them. It's mainly just trying to protect the one and only water source that we have. We are compassionate and we are empathy to the fishermen for recreational activity. We understand quality of life. Quality of life, I tell my employees all the time, you have to find a mixture. You can't work all the time. You have to have recreational activities that create a quality of life. But the thing about this is, water is life. Without water, we can't provide the very thing that we're able to give everybody day in and day out. I'm standing here representing not only the 350,000 individuals that we feed water through 5 cities and the Mobile County surrounding area. I'm also representing everybody throughout the state. If this bill passes, it's going to be detrimental to trying to protect that water supply, which is the only thing Malls is trying to do. I mean, we've been pitted as the bad guy in every way possible. We're simply trying to protect our water supply. Thank you.
All right, Mr. McCory, I think we're gonna have some questions for you, and I in particular have one. Was this a vote of the board or a staff of action upon staff? Did you make the decision or did the board make
It
it?
was a staff decision through a board, through interaction from the board.
Okay, but no official vote. And did you have a public hearing?
We did not. No.
Okay, committee, this is your time to ask questions. You're recognized, Underwood.
I guess that was my question in regards to this, was the process by which this happened. And that for me is probably the biggest issue, making sure that, we want to be open and transparent, knowing that that particular waterway is used for more than one reason. I certainly understand the protection of the water supply. I was a mayor for 6 years, so I get that.
Yes.
But, also knowing that there have to be a process in place, for something like that. And there's lots of legal questions that I've learned some today that from the attorney that was here about how that kind of stuff works. But Margie's question was probably the most important for me, and how this process got from where it was before to where it is today. And the board interaction and public hearing to me is pretty vital in how that comes together. So that was only my comment and question. So thank you for being here to speak with us today.
I can't make one response during that. The board is well aware and in favor of the decision. This was not, there was 2 years of analysis that went into this. 2 years. The study started, we had multiple firms study our lake. We had an environmental group study our lake. We had an HDR engineering, which is a water engineering group, study the lake. There was a lot of thought process that went into this. We represent and understand the unique, where this lake resides is not in the Mobile area water and sewers water coverage area. This lake resides in Mobile County, in the outskirts of Mobile County. We service a whole other area. So the entities, the individuals who are passionate about this, they're not Moss customers, most of them. So, the public hearing, yes, you're exactly right, but we want to react to our customers.
So those studies that you did for over 2 years, those were all powerful indicators of what is or what could be in the future.
Yes, sir.
So there is a current issue now with
Russian zebra mussel.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's a threat that has come as far south as the Black Warrior River. And there's an analysis, I think, in the packet that y'all have that shows what's changed, because I've been asked 100 times what's changed. In the 80s, it was around the Lake Erie area, and now it's migrated so far south, and it's surrounding our area. And that's one of the biggest threats we face. There's 4 other threats that are potentially there, but that's one of them.
Okay, and the boat washing stuff, would that offset that, or I'm just learning, I apologize for the questions.
I understand.
Is the boat wash to sort of combat that in the first place?
Yes, sir. The way you combat a zebra mussel is everybody's done a little research about it. It's a boat wash with 140-degree heat. Our boat wash is equipped to have a 140-degree heat, but we chose at the point not to. The problem is the matter of you have to wash your ropes, you have to wash your anchor, you have to make sure in a diluted bleach. This is from the Corps of Engineers. The Corps of Engineers has a statement on this. You have to have it in a diluted bleach to wash your anchors, again, your boat. And then not only that, it recommends highly that you sit your boat in quarantine for 1 to 2 weeks from one body to another. That is the Corps. That's not Bud McCrory's opinion. And so, to ask somebody to do that is virtually impossible. I mean, it's a trust factor in allowing that. And not only transmitting into our lake, we have invasive species in our lake. It can be transmitted out of our lake to another body of water. So, I mean, you're trying to protect that. And keeping it out of the bay, keeping it out of the rivers. I mean, there's a number of rivers surrounding Mobile County. And just trying to protect those areas too.
You're right. I guess this kind of gets back to being eventually on the questions you was asking about ownership. I hate to use that word because it's public, and so I hate to use the word ownership, but the use of that space, regardless of customer or not, can I, in the northwest corner of the state, have the ability to drive down there and use that lake, whether I'm a resident or a customer or not? Kind of gets in that kind of thing too. So I really appreciate you coming and giving us a chance to Q&A a little bit. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're recognized, Vice Chair.
Thank you for coming. I have just a few questions. So I asked, Mrs. Skaggs earlier, is there a boat launch or access point upstream that could get you to the lake?
Not that we're aware of without crossing private property that we own. We have, we've entered into what we call our Big Creek Lake Land Management Plan to basically purchase property across areas of the lake to protect the lake. That's the only reason. We're not developing property. We do property to help us buy properties that come readily available as a land management plan to protect it. So as well, I'm aware of, there is not.
I guess I meant, could you launch your boat, I don't know how big this waterway is, way upstream, and could you, since it's navigable, navigate all the way into this lake?
According to what we've been told, yes, sir, there is a possibility.
And so, but you're not aware of any boat launches way upstream?
No, sir.
Okay. And just a thought, but when so currently there is no boat launch on the lake?
There is an existing boat launch, as Mr. Hutchinson spoke about, that we do own, that is shut down currently. That is the only boat launch that we're aware of on the lake.
So when the boat launch was open and active, did boaters have to pay a fee to use that launch?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, they did.
How much was that fee?
It was a $10 fee for boaters, it was a $5 fee for seniors and kayaks, and it was a $1 fee for bank fishing.
Is there any way that the laws could charge or create some sort of license to use it and charge enough that it could offset any of the water mitigation issues, where you could say, all right, we've made X off of all of our licenses to use the water, which gives us the money to take care of the zebra mussel and everything else that we have. So that way.
Yes, sir. During the studies, we explored multiple options. We explored that option. The expense would be pretty high at the boat launch because of the cost to have that. But we're also continuing to work with the board today to work about and look for other options that we may be able to do this. The key to helping this matter is outside boats. That's the key, because an outside boat can bring in something too. Somebody mentioned Lake Purdy earlier. Lake Purdy is Birmingham Water's secondary water supply. They rent boats. They don't allow outside boats into that zone. They do that because, and it says specifically because of the threat of invasive species from outside areas. And so that's a viable option. That is something that we're going to continue to explore. We are looking into that, and I'm going to be working with the board to see if we can come up with a solution to that.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Before you leave the podium, are any of those studies available to the committee or available to the public?
We can.
I'd like those emailed so that we can have further information if we want to dig further. You're recognized, Representative Moore.
Just for clarification, you had mentioned that it might be too costly to add, I guess, a few extra dollars or whatever a person. What is the process, or what was the process for having someone pay those $3? Is it online? Where was the accountability? Was there somebody there?
Yes, sir. There was a security officer there through our normal security company, and he just monitored on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday from like 6 to 6 or 6 to sunset. And then basically we had a kiosk with a gate. We constructed all of this to try to mitigate the issue. That was part of what Malls and the board decided, hey, we want to continue to provide this access to the lake. This is the means of it. Then we put the studies together. The study revealed these threats, and then we had to back up and take a look at that. So there was an investment there initially to do that.
So you only had a public entity open for 3 days a week?
Yes, sir. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yes, sir.
Okay. And I guess I was sharing some of my colleagues' sentiments earlier that y'all had a lost my train of thought. It'll come to me.
Yes, sir.
Completely lost my train of thought on that.
Yes, sir.
I'll fill in. Did you have any demand during the week that was unmet?
Yes.
Yes. Well, the lake.
By a show of hands, who wanted to use it during the week? Okay, thank you.
And you have to understand now, so John Salvini come in, if you don't mind me taking the time to explain this. John Salvini come into the lake in 2022. We had never had giant Salvini. Giant Salvini is an invasive species, it's about that big, and it multiplies in size every 3 to 5 days. But we did not have a boat wash up to that point, and I think maybe Mr. Hutchinson or somebody spoke to this. We had a bid process that somebody worked the launch as an honor system and basically just paid malls an annual fee and said, we will monitor the launch for you. When John Salvini hit, it spread. What John Salvini does, it hurts water quality. It steals oxygen out of your water and hurts your treatment process. Flint, Michigan is a great example of that. They changed their source of water, but didn't change their treatment process. So we had to shut the lake down while we mitigated the John Salvini issue. So we go out, we find a chemical that's EPA approved because we're spraying chemicals on drinking water. So we found a chemical that was EPA approved, we mitigated the issue, we built the boat wash. In building the boat wash, that was going to help with that issue. At that same time, we're running studies and having these departments, having these organizations do the studies. As they did, the studies revealed these other threats. When you get it compounded and put it on top of the other threats, that's why we closed the lake. It's just to protect the drinking water.
Representative Moore, you recognize?
What I was trying to allude to a little bit ago is why, if this was a 2-year process, and I would assume that information had gotten out, and there has obviously been some opposition to it, why was there not a public hearing and having that input?
I'm going to go back to what, and this is very difficult to say standing here today. I'm going to go back to the fact of our customer base. We should have held a public hearing for our customer base, because that's who we represent. That's who has to fund what we're going to do with the lake. My ratepayers. We are strictly revenue generated off water and sewer revenues. We're not generated off tax base of any sort or anything like that. We receive that from ratepayers. So our ratepayers are ultimately who we have to answer to. With the uniqueness of where our lake is situated, most of the individuals around the lake are not Mall's ratepayers. In fact, none of them around the lake are Mall's ratepayers. So it affects our ratepayers in the long run and what we're going to do. And of course, with anybody, you're trying to control costs. We could have held a public hearing for that group. We sure could have. But most of the individuals in this room wouldn't have a word at that public hearing due to the fact of they're not ratepayers. That's the biggest issue here is where the lake is situated.
Yeah, that's not your best argument. But in all fairness, I drink that water. I'm a ratepayer. My daughter drinks that water, and my new grandson drinks that water. So I'm very concerned about the drinking water. How many here are Mall's customers? All right, so there are plenty of people that are Mall's ratepayers. Okay, thank you so much. I'm moving on to the next speaker unless we have another committee question.
Thank you.
Joshua. Oh, I'm so sorry. Representative Bracy has a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It's more of a comment. I'm a Mall's customer and a lifelong, and I do appreciate the fact that you said that y'all are going to go back, have more conversations to try to come up with a sensible solution.
Yes, sir.
Because at the end of the day, this shouldn't be this side versus that side. I mean, we're one Mobile County, we're one South Alabama. All of us have to live, work. We go to church together, our kids play ball together, and we have to live together. But we do have to protect the quality of the drinking water, and we do have to protect the quality of life. And I do appreciate the fact that you said y'all will go back to the table and see if we can kind of work some things out, because I think that's what this committee looks for a lot. We see people a lot of times that are hard on different sides of issues, scope of practice issues, all different types of issues. And when people come together and actually sit down and have sensible conversation and come back with a solution, it makes it better for all of us. So, I appreciate anybody in here that's willing to actually sit down and make that happen. So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did you have a follow-up, Robin? All right. Thank you so much. Joshua Lacoste, you're up. Larry Godfrey, you're on deck. Glennis Gorham, you're in the hole.
My name is Joshua Lacoste.
Sorry.
That's fine. I reside in Wilmer, Alabama as well. I have to explain in 3 minutes or less on why this bill needs to pass to this committee.
Update 2.5.
Sorry. This community has fished Big Creek Lake for 70 years. There has been tournaments held on this lake to raise money for St. Jude and other benefits. Now somehow Malls has seen fit to close this public water unjustly. We do not believe Moz nor any other board should have this ability to do so. Moz has not conducted any impact studies on Big Creek Lake. Moz also stated that Moz leaves impact studies up to contractors, that Moz awards projects to, yet they do not have any oversight on if contractors are holding up environmental impact studies on the logging, spraying for invasive species, or the sedimentary runoff from the logging. ADEM shows this lake is in good standings. Moz and other water boards should not have the ability to control bodies of water. There are other agencies that constituents of Alabama fund for these issues. ADEM, the EPA, and the Department of Health, all these agencies have this ability. The state also has Alabama Department of Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries who can handle invasive species risk. All of these agencies should have the ability to close a waterway if it deems necessary. I will move on from why law should not have this ability and use the rest of the time to discuss the surrounding communities. The youth in these communities, specifically the teen group, have been forgotten. This whole generation has lost its way with addiction and mental health issues. Point blank, these kids are bored. Most people I talk to use this lake as their safe space, their place for solace and reflection, connecting with nature in their pastimes. Connecting with nature in pastimes could give these kids a chance to reflect and pull away from the stress and influences they face on a daily basis. My son, who is here today, has lost in 2 years more friends than I have in 40 years on this earth. And that should not be the reality we live in, but it is. I watch as my son struggles with the loss of many friends and tries to find his way in this broken world we are leaving them. A world where the simple things are gone and taken away because we were scared to stand up and say enough. It's the simple things that we are losing. What have we become as a nation or a state that allows entities like Moz to control natural resources? Moz's job starts at the pipes. Ours starts at the launch. If we do not manage or are not good stewards of the water, then let one of the 4 agencies that I spoke on determine this.
Thank you. Your time is up. I do appreciate so far y'all are doing a great job on bringing up topics of different than the speaker before you. All right, now I have Larry Godfrey, Glennis Gorham, and then Jamie Allgood. Larry Godfrey. Mr. Godfrey, please state your city of residence or town of residence.
My name is Larry Godfrey. I live at 11343 Howells Ferry Road, about a half a mile from the lake. Spent 33 years on the Escatawba River on the Alabama-Mississippi line. Ran a campground and canoe rental. Mr. Robbins asked the young lady in the red over here, is there any other place to build boat launches? Can you put a canoe or a kayak in the northern end of it and progress down into the lake itself? The answer to that is no. Moz owns every foot of, with the exception now, just a small foot that I saw on the maps. They own every foot of land around there. That includes entire sections of lands, small 2 or 3 acres, 10, da-da-da-da. Now, I have heard no one mention about the city of the city of Mobile having a meeting. Moz had a meeting, and the city of Mobile wants the 9,000 acres turned over to them. Had a meeting. There were 7 board members there. 6 of them voted yes, we're going to turn it over. That's what started the whole thing. We went to the meeting. They put us in a room about maybe half as big as this room here, or less than half. So they was rebuilding their conference room in there. They wasn't. I went and looked. So anyhow, I've got a lot of information here, and I know I'm not going to have time to even open the folder. So there's a simple answer to this. There's Highway 98 that goes across the northern part of the lake there. Has been for years. I launched a boat there for many, many years in the woods there. And it was a makeshift boat launch and back up, put your boat in and go again. Done that for years. Now, AlDOT owns that property. The bridge has been taken out. New bridge over here now to the south of the old bridge on the north. All we would have to do, and of course, Moz has got a beautiful boat launch down there, done a great job. And all we would have to do is get AlDOT to lease that to the state, sell it to the state, And I think they have at least two malls right now. But anyhow, if they don't agree to break the lease or this or that, Aldite can institute eminent domain just like malls does. And thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you letting me be here.
Feel free to leave the information with Representative Stringer, and he can make sure that it is distributed to the committee members. So if you have any information that any of you are unable to impart upon us, he'll get it to us.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Godfrey. Glennis Gorham, you're up. Jamie Allgood, you're on deck. Stephen McNair, you're in the hole.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Glennis Gorham. I'm a lifelong resident of Mobile County, 33-year resident of Simmons, Alabama. I live 5 minutes from Big Creek Lake on Fire Tower Road. I'm a mother of 2.
No crying.
I'm a grandmother of 2. I've been married over 33 years. My husband and I dated. We fished at night on Big Creek Lake. We put on lines and jugs. And the lake is one of the reasons I married my husband. It's such a special place. I learned how to skin catfish from the fish on Big Creek Lake. During COVID, the lake became a place where we could go and social distance and get out of our house. It was medicine for our anxiety about COVID. We enjoyed beautiful sunsets and fishing from the bank. We even bought another boat and fixed it up and started going boating again. I had forgotten how much fun it was to be back on the lake. It brought back such good memories. Our county commissioner gave the Taxpayers Road, which is part of Halsbury Road, to Mons. There's not even a place to park and watch a sunset or paint fish. We are locked out. They took it from us. Before the lake closed, my husband and I would take our 3-year-old grandson to the lake to see a sunset. I sure would love for him and his sister to grow up boating and fishing at the lake. Our MGM fishing teams can't go there to practice anymore. Our school is right down the road. This lake is a place where you can get away from your phone, set it aside, and be with nature. You might see a deer swimming across, alligators floating around, turtles, bald eagles, raccoons, duck, massive koi fish that do not like worms, and even a rooster running around. And yes, I do have worms in my refrigerator next to the milk. And I did marry my husband for his boat. You might even get a little free entertainment watching people try to back their boat down the boat ramp. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Jamie Allgood, you're up. Stephen McNair, you're in the home. Melissa Gates, you're in the home.
Jamie Allgood from Mobile, Alabama. Been here since 1970. I played on Big Creek Lake. I have watched Moz and Pritchard, specifically because I'm an environmentalist. Moz is turning into Pritchard's system. For them to say that they're doing these different plans and initiatives to help with invasive species, that really didn't happen. I wasn't able to find any kind of reports online through Moz. Wasn't able to find out anything except a 15-year strategic plan. And it really doesn't say anything about what their plan is, other than we all need to work together. But yet, one day they just shut the lake down. And that was it. And that, to me, is not good stewardship. It certainly isn't helping the people who pay the bills. You know, I pay my bill every month. I expect certain things. I've always gotten it from Moz. When the invasive species started, that's where the problem came from. And then there's always been problems with easements and taking land from people so they can get the water system right. We all want clean water. It doesn't matter where you live, what state, city, whatever. We all want it. But for Moz to keep us out of this decision is completely wrong.
Thank you for your comments. You recognize Representative Bracy.
Thank you, ma'am. I just want to say that, I take some level of offense. I grew up in Pritchard, and when we use Pritchard, and Pritchard has nothing to do with this situation. And Pritchard, great customers are, they drink water from Big Creek Lake, and, they're, part of this situation, but they didn't vote to do anything. They didn't have anything to do with this, and to bring, my community in as a punching block to say, well, they're just kind of being like them. I think we're kind of taking unfair shots at people that are not here and have nothing to do with this situation. Thank you.
So noted. All right, our next speaker, Stephen McNair. You're recognized.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. Stephen McNair for the City of Mobile. I reside within the city. Our interest in this legislation obviously stems from the fact that the city has one sole source for clean drinking water, and Big Creek Lake is that source, in addition to 350,000 people within the greater area. The citizens have come to rely on the fact that they know clean drinking water is available without compromise, and also in a high pressure system, whether you're a farmer, whether you're school system, whether you're a hospital, a first responder, or just somebody who runs a household. The idea that your drinking water may not be there when you need it or may be compromised is not something we have to worry about right now. But in terms of invasive species, that's where we encourage this committee to think very deeply and thoughtfully about what could happen should something compromise that sole source of drinking water, not only from an economic development standpoint, but also from a quality of life standpoint, from a health standpoint. Now, it is encouraging to hear today that Moz is willing to work with those interested in recreation to maybe find some type of solution. Representative Bracy, you mentioned that as well. I think that's very encouraging, and we hope those conversations continue. But when it comes to not allowing clean drinking water to be provided to those who rely on it because the system has been changed in terms of who can really control the lake and make sure that invasive species are not eradicated or at least prevented, then that's where we have pause and really hope that you take this very seriously. So I really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing how you vote next time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Melissa Gates, and then Lynn Houch is on deck. Coach, thank you.
Like Coach.
Coach like Coach. I can get it right the next time. Yes. Melissa Gates, you're recognized.
Mobile, Alabama, and I live on Ruby Road, which dead ends into Big Creek Lake. So it is, you can basically see it from my front yard. What I want to know is all these studies that Moz has done, why can't the public see it? Why can't we see? Because
address the committee.
And so that's kind of where I'm at. Why don't maybe y'all ask to see this proof of all this zebra mussels and things to see, because we're not having transparency, and that's kind of, as a concerned citizen and used to be a user of the lake, is a really big concern for us. We would really like to work with Moz and come up with something, because we love in Chickasaw Lake. That is the center of our community. It has been. And I'm a newbie. I've only been there 21 years. And like you said, there have been generations. So my question is, work with us. Don't be so secretive about what's going on, and help us to understand what you're talking about, because we know nothing. And what we have found out is kind of contradictory to what they're saying. So we would like some communication, which kind of goes along with why we didn't have a vote or any heads up or anything with the closing of the lake. So, and it just got told, and I'm sure I'm not saying this right, but I'm gonna try my best. 3 Mile Creek has plans to dredge Salco Lake. They closed it. Moz closed it as well. So, anyway, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Gates. Lynn Hoach, you're recognized. You'll be our final speaker today.
So that means I get 30 minutes.
No, 2.5.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wilcox, and thank you for y'all taking your time out to come here and hear a speech. But I am Lynn Holt. I live in Mobile, Alabama, resident of Cottage Hill, and I'm representing Hardwood Christian Academy, and I'm fighting for the children. So everybody have grandchildren and children here, so you know we want that access to the lake for the kids. And like most of the time when you go take a bath, it's relaxing. So water is relaxing. And two things that belong to God, the air and the water. So let me just read the preamble. I love my country, the United States of America, because I'm third world, I came from third world. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general warfare, and secure the blessing of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity, do ordain and establish this for the Constitution of the United States. And what is freedom? Freedom is the quality of state of being free. If we continue to take freedom from our children, they will not have freedom. So everybody that's sitting up here think they're gonna have freedom. If you continue to keep caving in, our freedom will be given away. Our freedom are given by God. So the Pledge of Allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. What is liberty? The word liberty is the state of being free within society from oppression, restriction imposed by authority on one's way of life, etc. There's more to it. So, yes, the people is paying Moss, and y'all are making, money too, because I think there's a piece of pie for everybody. So, when there's no public, like when they come out with some order and there's no public appearances, then that's not right. Something is hiding. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, that ends the public hearing portion, but Representative Stringer, we do invite you to come up and close us out.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. Wanted to thank all of the people that drove from Mobile County and other areas to come up here and fight the parking and other issues to come voice their opinion. Members, I think you've heard that no one out of this group opposes good water quality. Nobody. Some of the things that was failed to be mentioned is the fact that we've got a railroad that runs over Big Creek Lake. And all the rail bed, you can go look at the oil and debris that's on it to know that there's runoff from that. You've got major roadways that cross over Big Creek Lake, and there's issues and stuff there. There's 2 oil lines that run under Big Creek Lake. So to sit here and say, to make a point that this is our sole source of drinking water from Mobile and that they're doing things to prevent the mussels and the grass and by preventing recreation use of the lake is not good sense to me, because if this is the case, then they need to be drilling wells throughout Mobile County to help supplement or be prepared for this. For years, Highway 98 has been known as Bloody 98. We've had trucks, tankers of chemicals and gas and diesel and everything else that cross over that lake every day. What was our backup plan if something happened there? Where were we going to go with that? How was we going to protect the citizens of Mobile and the surrounding areas for their water supply? There's got to be other ways that we can protect that, and that can be through drilling wells throughout the county or other area bodies of water that we can access. As far as the boat launch and even you brought up the fee to use it, if the numbers, what I'm hearing is the profits and the money that Moss brings in every year is true, money is not an issue. This shouldn't be an issue. They've spent so much to block off access and patrol that. They could very easily hire somebody to man this boat launch to make sure that the proper processes are being done to make sure We're not putting anything invasive in our waters. And that's what we want. We want to protect that. We want to keep that. We've got people that I've spoke to that have moved all over the place to come live at Big Creek Lake, bought houses, bought boats to come there, and now they can't do it. They're frustrated, man. They have spent their life savings to come there, and now they can't even use it. Talked to one guy, bought a brand new boat, never had a chance to put it in the lake. He just sold that boat. Took a major loss because he can't use the lake no more. We've got MGM fishing team right there 5 minutes from the lake that can't even fish it. They're fishing in Lake Tuscaloosa today. They can't even use the lake to bring our kids up right. So that is disheartening. That is discouraging. The state has told us they stocked Big Creek Lake with over 900,000 bass. Over 900,000 bass for Moss to come in and shut it down. That's unacceptable. That is state resources, tax-paying money that we have spent putting fish into that lake only for that to be shut down.
You're backing up?
Almost. You know, and then, you know, in their statement, they said it, the people around the lake don't matter. That's wrong. That is what is the problem here. This is a major overreach of power by Moss. And I'm not picking on them. This is a major, we have got to make sure that appointed boards do not have the authority to come in and shut down. We've got creeks that run into there. Yeah, there's a chance of an invasive species. Are we going to shut down all the creeks across the state? Are we going to shut down the creeks that lead in there that run across Senator Williams' property because of this? No. Are we going to shut down the railroad that crosses over? Are we going to shut down the roadways that cross over there because of this? No. 98 is known as Bloody 98. We could very easily say, well, to prevent deaths and stuff, we're going to shut down 98. We're not going to do that. We have to be practical here. What is taking place here without any kind of hearings, without anything taking place, is not practical. And people are tired of being ignored and overlooked. And I appreciate your support in anything you can do, and I would appreciate you to vote yes on this.
Okay, committee members, we won't be voting today. Yes.
Representative Freeman.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I always love your passion.
Yes.
Are you willing to, like, try to meet Moss to kind of see if some things could be worked out, or are you just hardline where you are?
No, I've reached out.
I'm talking about like going forward.
Absolutely.
Because what I'm hearing a lot of is what has happened in the past.
Yeah.
You know, we can't fix that. But we can figure out what we can do to go forward, because we're all neighbors. All of us in here from Mobile County are neighbors. You know, and I'm just wondering, are you willing in the next couple of days to see if there's something that we can come up with before we come up with this vote next week? Because I think that'll be very important for everybody.
I'm willing to meet with anybody and listen to anybody.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, Representative.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so as I stated, we're not going to vote today. Today was particularly devoted to hearing your concerns and your needs and your wants. It is and the reason why we're not voting is customarily we don't, but we have the greatest hopes that the two sides can work this out. So I know that y'all wanted a resolution or a vote today. I'm sorry, I cannot and I will not provide that for you, because I think this is a very complicated issue that I want to make sure this committee has all of the information available to them before they vote. Your testimony today has been very compelling. I thank y'all for coming. Your expense of your time and your money has not gone unnoticed. We appreciate y'all coming to the People's House, the House of Representatives. We will always be open to you. Our addresses and our email addresses are online. If you want to send emails, you can. Like I said, short and to the point is to the best. I don't recognize people from the floor, but I'm going to do an exception for you.
Can we take a picture with you? This is homeschool co-op, and to bring it to my face.
You know, I would like for the kids that are here to stand up, because y'all are our future. And I have noticed a couple of kids, and we will take that with the committee a little later. We will do that. But for the general part, I want to excuse the public. Thank y'all so much for being here. All right,